Alright guys, after a quick vacation, we're back, and this time we're reviewing Invincible, which is a new series from Amazon. And even though it's not perfect, it's pretty damn good. So even though we're not going to be talking about any major story spoilers, we recommend watching the show before reading or watching any reviews on it. All that being said, let's jump on in. Eli, what did you like about the show, Invincible?
Just to start off, the animation in this show is just amazing. That's the first thing that caught my attention. It felt like it was just another Justice League, but for a mature audience.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people don't know this, but, Justice League already was meant for a more mature audience, or at least they were going for that. But this show really gave into that with the more blood and gore that was in the show.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the gore actually made you feel the pain and the emotions that the characters also felt in the show to actually tell you, like, look, this is real.
Yeah, it's like really good visual storytelling, and they don't do it just to be like, hey, this just happened. They're just like, hey, like, this just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was also gonna say, like, the fights are just amazing too. Each single blow, each, like, the wind for every single punch that they throw, and I just want to say, all that together, this show just brought us a lot of great art design everywhere. The environments, the different kinds of environments. It took us to the city, it took us to the moon, to Mars. It's pretty cool. I really liked how they really built the story upon the arts, and then finally, threw everything else inside.
For me, I have to tell you, like, the plot and like the tone it creates. I mean, immediately we have this compelling story, and it could be broken down into about three major sections. At first, we follow Mark, this young superhero who's coming to grips with his powers. And of course, he's living in the shadow of his superhuman father. And, for him, it's like whether or not he can live up to that expectation. And then, of course, move into the next major section. And, we follow this new group of superheroes who try to form a new super team to help level the playing field, should Earth ever be attacked. But here again, we have that expectation because they, too, are living up in the shadow of the last super team. And what's cool about this is it gives us this ominous, like, mystery tone of, like, what happened to them? Who's safe? Are our characters safe? And that, to me, leads to what the main point was, is like this detective-like story into what happened, like, with that super team. And all of these leads culminate into a captivating story with characters we care about that give us this fun comic book style. And ultimately, they pull this off throughout the whole season, and they give us a season finale that truly keeps the audience wanting more.
Yeah, and honestly, that first arc that you mentioned, Ryan, that's like cliche, like the young superhero gets their powers and they're trying to come to grips, and it could be cliche. And the other ones as well, like it's a detective story. We've all heard and done it. Oh, there's a new Justice League coming up. How are they going to do it? We saw it in the Marvel movies, but this is a really, really mature and smart way to take those stories and really elevate them to something great. They're very clever and intentional with the way they write and the way the plot really develops over time. So yeah, dude, I 100% agree with you.
Well, they own it. They own the appropriation that they took from other, inspirations, works of art, and then they create their own way of making it. They just make it work. It truly is amazing how they pulled this off.
So I agree with both of you guys, but I also want to talk about the characters for a bit. I think it's really hard for any first season of any show to, like, nail a character introduction, and this show doesn't do a good job at that, just like the rest. I hated every single character when I met him, from William to Invincible, but by the end of the finale, I was eager to see what was going to happen next, because I got to know them. I got to see them grow. I got to see them fail. I got to see them, like, reveal their flaws and, like, just try new things to figure things out. And it's done in such a human and natural way. And I think the voice acting helps because it's a star-studded cast. You can't ignore that. Amazon has a bunch of money. You got a bunch of people. J.K. Simmons is a cast out, or he stands out definitely, but everyone else does a good job. So whoever directed the actors just nailed it. Did a really, really good job.
They did a really good job on that. All right, with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and go into what we thought, its worst aspects were. Go ahead, Ryan.
So its worst aspects to me, and I believe I speak for the majority of the population of people who have watched this show, is Fuck Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
she sucks as a character. She's toxic.
Yeah.
She's annoying. She really doesn't serve much of a purpose. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you could have taken her character out and nothing would have changed to the story except for maybe a little bit of stuff with Mark. But she's not a good love interest, in my opinion.
She pretty much serves the role of the person that's always bitching to Mark. Just another stress level or another stress aspect of
Exactly.
Mark's life. That's it. That's all she is.
And I just want to make it clear to everyone, she is not a detective.
Oh god.
No, she is not a detective. And again, I guess you're supposed to be annoyed with her because she's like the, you know, these high school teens or everything. But this is one of the things that takes me out of this as well. The soundtrack of this show just is completely jarring to me. It's distracting. Literally reminds me of a 16-year-old's homecoming mixtape. You know, it's too much pop music. Way too much pop music. And it just, I don't like when shows do that. Like, I would rather they have their own original score. So to me, I couldn't deal with it.
I think I'm a little bit more forgiving, although it is noticeable and it's jarring when it does happen. I'm a little more forgiving and I'm like, oh, that's cheesy. It's a superhero show. But I do agree that it is. I could do without it.
So that's all I got.
All right. Well, for me, I feel like its worst aspect was how they played around with the power leveling or power scaling, however you want to put it. And pretty much all its characters, but specifically on Omnimat, you know, without giving away any spoilers, we do see him stack up against, you know, people that are like 100 feet tall and people that are like, you know, 2 feet tall. And yet we see him constantly struggle with people that you think he wouldn't struggle with, and then beating people up that you think he would struggle with. It's weird how they fluctuate on how powerful he actually is.
Yeah, and discrepancies like these kind of actually take you out of the show, especially like we were talking about. It gets so much momentum, you know, like it takes you out when it's inconsistent, because it's hard for you to like imagine who would win, or, you know, like it's hard for you to be like understand the world and the rules.
It's exactly that. If it was only him, that would have been all right, but you literally see it with every single character. You think people that are, you know, someone that could throw dimes, you wouldn't expect them to be part of the Justice League, would you?
Yeah, that's true.
But I'll just leave it like this. They should fix that a little bit better. You know, if they're going to say he's this strong, they should make him that strong and pretty much continue with that.
Yeah, just make it more consistent.
Yeah. But yeah, that for me, that was definitely one of the major flaws that the series had.
Yeah. I guess for the things that like didn't work with me so much, the first and foremost is going to be the second half of the finale. I just feel like it was such a steep fall off, and I'm like, man, I really wish it would have kept up that momentum till the very last second so we could like be on our toes to see what's going to happen next. Instead, it's kind of more like, hey, you know, that's all we have for you right now. Watch next time if you want. It'll be just as cool. The other thing that really bothered me, and another slight spoiler, is the Mars episode. I'm not going to go into what happens, but to me, it's a waste of time. It doesn't affect the story overall. It's a lot of teen drama, a couple of jokes, and it's a setup for a different something that may or may not happen in the future.
Absolutely. It's the weakest link in the chain. I don't think it could stand alone on its own as other episodes can. So I really don't understand why they I guess they had to pad their runtime. We're like, let's give Mark something to do.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, guys. So there's the things we liked and did not like about the show. But naturally, the way we do things here is each one of us is going to give an individual score, and then we're going to average it out to the overall score. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and say that it took me by surprise being able to get into this show with it being an animated series. But I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the artwork. I fell in love with the story. And I have to tell you, I'm surprised by my score, but I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, I feel like I was blown away by this series. It's a really good animated series. I am being a little biased when I say that I also like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. But with the little faults it had, I'll definitely give this a solid score of an 8 out of 10 as well.
To me, the faults are like noticeable, but it's nothing compared to how outstanding this show really is. The characters, the animation, to me, it really feels like a show that's once in a very long time that you get something like this. So for the first time for the channel, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. And it's going to be a solid 9 out of 10.
All right, guys. So there you have it, our individual scores, and it averages out to an 8 out of 10 for Invincible Season 1. Don't forget to comment if you agree or disagree with us. And if you like this and want more content, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys.